So now actually we are going to take a look at real life examples or actually a real project to do or to practice threads. So now let's actually do a project based on threads actually. So we'll see a practical hands-on application or something that we can actually do with threads. So I have some code written here. So I have a list here called image URLs. These are actually the URLs of stock photos. So these are all images from various stock websites. So if I just open this in a website or in a browser, you can see that these are all normal stock photos. So in normal cases, you can actually go to the website and maybe download image. You can just save image and just download them. So let's see how to actually do this with Python. So I have a small program here. So these are all the URLs of such stock images. So I have 5 of them. So, and I also have the start time and end time calculator that actually can calculate the time actually took. So we have discussed this before, so it's not really important. So we are actually iterating through the image URL. So we are actually accessing all the individual items inside, and then what we are actually doing is we are actually using the request library to actually get the contents of the image. We are actually downloading this using the a request library, and then we are actually giving it a name. So it actually in this case we are actually taking this as the name. So this will be the name of the image we download for each URL. This portion of the URL will be the name. So then we actually open a file, and then we actually write all the downloaded data. We actually downloaded data here using the request library, and we actually write that to a file, and then we actually finally name it. We actually add a .jpeg here at the end of the file name, so actually to make it a real JPEG image. So basically all this code is doing is actually downloading image from the internet. So, and that's all it is doing. Actually it's actually starting the start time and it actually starting the end time. This code is not needed. So now if we just run the program, let's wait, let's see how much time this is going to take. Actually this is actually going to take a lot of time. I mean, if you actually increase this, it'll actually take a lot of time, because yeah, it actually took 17 seconds. This can also actually vary according to your internet speed. So my internet speed is not that good, so it is actually slow here. So it actually took 17 seconds. So now let's actually use threads and see how to actually speed this up. We have to modify this code a little bit. All this code will be available for you. So to actually use threads, we have to actually create a function first. So we don't need this. We'll actually remove this, and we'll actually say, we'll define a function here called download image, and inside the braces we'll actually specify a parameter called image URL. So we have actually changed this to a function, and that function actually accepts a parameter which is the image URL. Now what we have to do is we have to actually use the concurrent futures module. We can actually use the original threading module, but this is the better one. This is actually the better one, so I have imported it. Now what we have to actually do is we'll say with concurrent, let's just with concurrent dot futures dot thread pool executor, and we'll give it a short name. We'll call it as executor, and then we'll say executor dot map. We are actually using the map method here. You have actually heard about the map method before. I have actually discussed this. So it actually takes a function and actually a list of values, and then it can actually apply that values one by one to that function. So in this case it will actually take this function, and for this image URL it will actually apply one by one items, all the items inside this image URL. So I'll say map, and we have to actually pass in the image URLs here. Okay, we have to pass in the function first, so we'll have to say download image without the braces and comma, and we have to actually apply this list to this function. Okay, we have to apply this list to this function. So okay, so now this is actually done. So now if I just run the program, let's see the time it actually takes to download the two images. So I have actually got six URLs here, 6 image URLs. So now actually let's run this without using threads and see how much time it actually takes. And if I just hit run, let's wait for it to actually get completed. Okay, the first one was actually downloaded. It is actually going to also depend on your internet speed. Okay, so my internet speed is actually not really good, but if your internet speed is actually really fast, then this should be completed even in lesser time. Okay, if you just look at here, you can see that it actually took 57 seconds or nearly 1 minute to actually download the 6 images. Now let's run this again and see the output. Let's see if it's actually going to be slower or faster. Let's run the program. Okay, it's actually downloading. 2 images have been downloaded already. Okay, 4 completed. Just 2 more to go. Okay, it's actually completed and it actually took 59 seconds. So it's actually literally the same. I think it was actually some mistake from my part. So yeah, this probably my internet speed thing or anything. I'm actually getting the same output here. So you may actually get a speed up here. This is probably because of my internet speed or something. But yeah, this should actually make the program faster. So since this was actually an IO bound task, we were actually sending requests to get the data and waiting for the data to actually get downloaded. So we weren't doing anything. It was actually an IO bound task. We were just simply waiting. So in such cases, threads are actually really useful. I don't know what happened here. If you just try it yourself, you may actually get a speed up. So actually threads are used when we have an IO bound task, or when we are actually simply waiting and doing nothing CPU related, or we are actually just waiting for input or waiting to actually get a response or something. So next we'll be discussing about if it was actually some kind of CPU bound task. For example, if the program was actually doing some calculation in the background, this wouldn't actually work. We need to use concurrency to actually speed up our task. We'll see that, or we'll see how to actually do such things in the next tutorial. See you then.